All right, folks, we got a lot to cover today in the world of crime-related news. In Georgia, 5 soldiers are shot and a fellow soldier is in custody. In Louisiana, a state trooper is arrested after assaulting a dating partner. And also in Louisiana, a domestic violence situation turns deadly in a murder-suicide. More details have come out in the Arkansas case of Aaron Spencer. This is a dad who killed a guy molesting his 13-year-old daughter. In fact, I counted the emails and messages I received on this case. Over 20 separate messages and requests to cover this story. TikToker is arrested in Arizona after conducting a series of TikTok pranks. In Tennessee, a suspect in a quadruple killing is arrested. A Texas deputy who said she was sexually frustrated on social media. She's in some trouble of her own now with her Texas Sheriff's Association. We'll get into that. All this and much more today. Welcome to Crime Wire Weekly. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings. What is going on, Jimothy?
It's going good. You're back in the studio.
I am. I needed that vacation. We all do.
Yeah.
But it was so damn hot.
It was beautiful from the pictures you took.
Yeah. And we went a whole week and we stayed at the pool. We went to the beach once and I got pissed off because it was too hot.
Right. I don't blame you. It was hot.
And I had seaweed in my swimsuit.
Well, seaweed in your swimsuit. Yeah. From the one day you went to the beach.
Yes.
Apparently.
It was very thick on the edge of the water.
We can't have seaweed in your swimsuit, KJ.
No, that makes things just real weird.
Nope. And we're going to start out at Fort Stewart. This is in Georgia. And Fort Stewart, incidentally, the largest military base in the country. An Army sergeant has opened fire at Fort Stewart. This was on Wednesday, shooting 5 soldiers, prompting a brief lockdown. And very few details outside of that are available as to what led to this. The suspected shooter has been identified by U.S. officials as Logistics Sergeant Cornelius Radford. He's 28. He has not previously been deployed to combat. So I guess they make a note of that in case anyone wanted to say that he had any sort of PTSD issues going on.
Right.
Radford opened fire at his workplace using a personal handgun and not his military-issued weapon. The shooting happened at the 2nd Armored Brigade combat team area of the base, and law enforcement was dispatched to the area. That was at 10:56 a.m. on Wednesday. The alleged shooter was apprehended just about 30 minutes later at 11:35 a.m. Soldiers in the area who witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the shooter, and Radford was taken into custody. Now, the Army said it's investigating the shooting, and there are still, of course, with this being early on in the investigation, many unanswered questions. What are the condition of the soldiers, the scope of the injuries, the name of the shooter, as well as any possible motive? We do have the name of the shooter, but why he did it is really the question. The Army won't release names of the injured until they notify family members, of course, and we all understand that. And they're not going to speculate on the motive. They're going to really dive deep into this investigation to try to figure out why this guy would go off and just shoot 5 soldiers. This is a mass shooting, right? Yeah. Officials did say, however, all 5 victims, thankfully, are in stable condition. They're all expected to survive, and 3 of them have already had surgery. All of these soldiers were treated on site, and then they were moved to Wynn Army Community Hospital for further treatment. And some of the wounded were taken to what's known as Memorial Health University Medical Center in Savannah, Georgia. That hospital is very well known for top-level treatment as far as it relates to trauma in the state of Georgia. Now, the latest acts of violence in a U.S. military installation site, these sites are supposed to be secure. They're supposed to be the most secure in the country. I mean, you have guard shacks everywhere. These are military bases. Right. It's not easy to get on and off. However, when it's one of your own, you can't you can't secure against that. Now, White House and Defense Department officials said President Donald Trump and Secretary Pete Hegseth have been briefed on the shooting. The FBI was at the fort also to help investigate that shooting. That from Deputy Director Dan Bongino. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt shared a message on X saying the president had been briefed on the shooting at Fort Stewart. The quote, the president had been briefed at the shooting at Fort Stewart. I swear to God, that's how the article just read. Wow. The White House is monitoring the situation, wrote Caroline Leavitt. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp said he is keeping the victims, their families, and all those who answered the call to serve in their prayers. And now this base is located 40 miles southwest of Savannah. It is the largest Army post east of the Mississippi River. It's home to thousands of soldiers assigned to the Army's 3rd Infantry Division and their family members. And if you're curious, one of the deadliest acts of violence on U.S. military bases was a 2009 U.S. Army psychiatrist who attacked and killed 13 people.
I remember that.
You remember that? Yeah. In a shooting that left more than 30 wounded at Fort Hood, which is a Texas military base. In 2013, a defense contract worker and former Navy reservist killed 12 people at the Washington Navy Yard. He was then killed in a gun battle with police. In 2014, a soldier opened fire on his fellow service members at Fort Hood again, killing 3 people and wounding more than a dozen before killing himself. And in 2019, an aviation student opened fire in a classroom at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola. I've been there. Yeah. In Florida, that's where the Blue Angels fly out of.
They are so sick. Sorry, I don't mean to get off task, but that is so sick.
Yeah, well, this aviation student actually killed 3 people and injured another dozen people, including 2 sheriff's deputies. Just days earlier from that shooting, a U.S. Navy U.S. Navy sailor shot 2 people to death before killing himself at Pearl Harbor, which we all know that's a naval station in Hawaii. So prayers to those families.
And I know these are the situations where obviously everyone wants to know why, and they're looking for someone to blame. I think would be another thing. A lot of people do want to. How could this happen? You know, who is responsible for this? Ultimately, it's the shooter. He is responsible for this. Doubt. And I don't know. You know, human behavior is not predictable. Responses to things, I think, are somewhat in a realm of predictability. You know, if you get punched in the face, you'll jump back, or if you're, you know, someone yells at you, you might get scared or something if you're a kid. But to expect someone to come in and just open fire on the team, it's just the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean by the team. Like, we're all
nonsensical. I mean, it's just like, you know, you see it a lot with these mass shootings where there is no why they did it. I mean, there's never a good enough reason to do it, right?
No.
So, you know, I guess we'll get answers at some point, but they're going to do an investigation before they really release anything of substance.
And what we're going to get is that he was pissed off about something and that he is obviously maladapted to response, or they're going to say, what, mental illness? Well, I mean, he cleared some kind of checkpoint. So, you know, either way, you didn't kill anybody. And so for that, I'm thankful.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, it looks like all of these soldiers are going to survive, and
good.
And these are already heroes even before they have to.
And jumped right in, and took his ass down.
Yeah,
hoorah, man! Good job, y'all. Good job, seriously, good job. You saved more lives than we would ever be able to count, because we don't know what the extent of this could have been. So
that's right.
Excellent. All right, well, let's come right here in our neck of the woods in Louisiana.
I
think you know this case pretty well with me, Jimothy. But a Louisiana state trooper is sitting in an East Feliciana jail after a woman claimed he battered her overnight. The trooper, Derek Parrish, 38, was taken into custody on charges of battery of a dating partner. An arrest warrant shows the trooper followed a woman into her bedroom where he forced her down on the bed, screamed in her face, and bit her. Jim, he bit her. I've heard of canine officers, but they usually handle canines. They don't usually become the canine. The East Feliciana Parish Sheriff's Office was called to the residence in the 7900 block of Highway 63, and investigators noted her cheekbones showed heavy bruising and swelling. She also had bruising on her wrists and fingers and complained that she could not breathe. Investigators noted that he had been drinking. Sources say that Parrish is a road trooper in the Troop A area. A social media post from 2015 welcomed Parrish as one of their newest members to join the ranks. Bond was set at $25,000. State police tell us that once he posts bond, he will be placed on administrative leave. What do you think about that, Jim?
Well, I'm going to preface this with, of course, these charges are alleged, but if true, no one likes a dirty cop, especially one that beats on women, and it's fucking disgusting, and you lost your man card, in my opinion. That's what I think about it.
Yeah. Well, he lost his man card when he was personally a jerk to me. I dealt with this guy personally, and hey, I think that karma's a bitch. I'll leave it at that.
Right.
Hey, go
I would concur.
Yeah. I've come across some amazing officers, troopers, and he is the epitome of what makes the bad name.
Yeah.
For troopers.
Yeah, and I can tell you
better.
that good troopers and good state policemen, they don't want that shit on their force either.
No.
They don't want that either. Good policemen can't stand shit like this.
Right.
So this is a him issue and not a police issue. This is
absolutely
just he happened to be a policeman, but
well, he has
probably not anymore. Sorry, you lose.
So
he'll get what he deserves. That's for sure.
Good.
In this situation, should those charges be proven as accurate.
Good luck, Derek.
We're going to move to Arkansas.
All right.
Now, look, let me say something before I cover this story. And I mentioned this at the top of this broadcast, but I have gotten so many requests over the last really month to cover this case on some sort of podcast. And when I dug into it, I see why. So let's get into this case. After an Arkansas Supreme Court ordered the courts to be made public, we now have a clear picture of what happened the night Aaron Spencer killed Michael Fossler, a Lonoke County man who had previously been arrested and charged with sexual offenses against Spencer's teenage daughter. The court records had been sealed pursuant to a broad gag order from the circuit judge, Barbara Elmore, but last month, the Arkansas Supreme Court struck down the gag order and criticized Elmore's actions. According to records obtained by the Arkansas Times, Spencer initially called 911 just after 1 a.m. on October 8th of 2024 to report his 13-year-old daughter missing. Spencer told police he had been awakened by his dog barking, went to his daughter's room to check on her, and saw she was missing. He said he suspected she was with Fossler, who is 67, who had been arrested in July and charged with 43 counts, including sexual assault of a minor and internet stalking of a child related to Fossler's pursuit of Spencer's then 13-year-old daughter. The arrest affidavit for Spencer said he went to look for his daughter and Fossler after calling 911 the first time. The Lonoke County Sheriff's Office contacted Cabot Police to ask them to check a specific address. Prior to hearing back from Cabot Police, however, 911 dispatch gets a second call from Spencer, who said he had located the man who kidnapped his daughter and he had located his daughter, but that Fossler was dead on the side of the road and that he, quote, had no choice. The affidavit contains Spencer's recounts of how the deadly interaction unfolded. Spencer saw Fossler's white Ford F-150 turn onto the highway towards Fossler's home. He turned around and chased Fossler's vehicle, flashing his lights and honking his horn in an effort to get Fossler to pull over. When the two vehicles arrived at an intersection, Spencer rammed his truck into the rear of Fossler, sending the F-150 into a ditch. Spencer then stated he exited the vehicle with his firearm in his hand, ordered Fossler out of his vehicle and to lay down in the ditch. Spencer stated that he observed his daughter exiting the passenger side of that vehicle, but it appeared that Fossler had grabbed her and stopped her from getting out. Spencer then stated Fossler exited his vehicle and had something in his hand, but Spencer did not know what it was. Spencer stated Fossler lunged towards him, saying, "Fuck you." Spencer stated he then opened fire on Fossler, emptying his weapon before jumping on top of him and pistol whipping him. Spencer then stated he got his daughter out of the vehicle and returned to the truck, where he reloaded his weapon and called 911. According to the police report, Spencer shot Fossler in the chest, arms, and abdomen with a Glock 19. The report did not say how many times each body part was hit, though a standard magazine for the Glock 19 holds 15 rounds. Regarding the pistol whipping of Fossler, the report noted there was blood on the outside of the weapon when police discovered it. Spencer bonded out of the Lonoke County Jail the following day, and the case quickly drew attention, both inside Arkansas and beyond. On November 27th, the prosecutors charged Spencer with second-degree murder and commission of a felony with a firearm. That same day, Spencer's attorneys issued a statement calling Spencer a decorated war hero who protected his country and a loving father whose heroic actions protected his family. They said Fossler repeatedly violated his child and kidnapped her in the dark of the night to continue his assaults on her. The statement criticized prosecutors for bringing charges against Spencer at all, accused prosecutors of perpetrating these horrors instead of protecting legitimate victims and punishing true criminal offenders, and thanked those who had voiced their outrage over the treatment of Aaron, his child, and the rest of his family, the outrage they had suffered. The following week, prosecutors added Judge Elmore for an order preventing Spencer's attorneys and anyone else from saying anything about the case. Spencer's attorneys filed a 19-page response to the prosecutor's motion, and less than 30 minutes later, Elmore granted the prosecutor's motion and entered into a gag order. She also sealed the entire case file, despite the fact that neither side requested it. Spencer appealed that order, and in March, the Arkansas Supreme Court stayed the case pending their decision. On March 29th, the High Court struck down the gag order and sent the case back to Lonoke County for further proceedings. A pretrial hearing is now scheduled for August 8th, and a 5-day trial is scheduled to begin September 22nd. I promise you I'll be following that trial.
Absolutely. And I may be mistaken, but I think that his wife may have reached out to me. When did this happen? What was the date? Or does it say?
It was back in 2024.
Yeah. I think his wife may have reached out to me too back then. And I was kind of like, well, I wonder if there's more to this story. But I'll tell you this right now. Just looking at this article and only looking at this article, for shame that charges were brought on this man. I don't agree. I do not agree. I do not agree. If he would have, okay, so let's break it down. So he calls police, and what does he do? He waits for police to show up to give a statement, and his daughter is moving by the minute, further and further and further away from his home. He did what any father, any man worth his salt would have done, in my opinion. He jumped in his vehicle, he found his baby, and he rammed the car to stop it, to disable it. Now, if this was law, and I want everyone to know, I'm going just off the article. Obviously, there's been no trial, so this is all I have to work with. But he got out of the vehicle, he drew down, and it sounds to me, he didn't immediately open fire. He drew down, told him to get on the ground, and then perspective is everything. Perception is everything. And I don't care what the man had in his hand. If dad thought that it was a gun and then he grabbed his daughter, why would someone on the ground, who's obviously now been caught kidnapping a minor, grab the child other than any other reason than to do harm?
Well, he was in the car, and the child went to get out, and he grabbed her to stop her.
Right.
But he wasn't on the ground at that point.
But he had ordered him. I'm saying he had ordered him. Didn't he say get on the ground?
Get out of the truck. And he was still in the truck.
So wherever he was, either way, you don't grab the child.
Yeah, he definitely impeded. Oh, yeah, I'm
for
with
any
you.
other reason.
He impeded her.
Yeah. So dad said, pop, pop, pop. and pistol whip for good measure, just to make sure he didn't get back up. I disagree with this. I'm hoping that what's going to happen is, just because of the way that the court system, the way that the wheels turn, okay, I'm hoping that they look at this and say, obviously we're going to take some type of plea deal on something. I don't think that this should come to this, but if it did, maybe he can fight it and win, or plea down to a some type of non-negligent something or another. And
yeah, my personal thought, I don't blame him for killing that guy. I don't feel bad for that guy.
I don't either.
How dare you? He didn't need to be breathing oxygen any fucking way, in my opinion. And I have 2 daughters, and let me tell you, I would have done the same thing. And look, maybe the guy had something in his hand and lunged at him. I'd have just said, I shot the son of a bitch because he didn't deserve to be breathing oxygen.
Yeah. Well, and he stopped future victims. That dad
no doubt about
stopped future victims. I don't agree with this unless we come up into court and we find something that says, an email or text that says, hey, motherfucker, come to my house and I'm going to blow your brains out. And then he told him, if that comes up, okay, that changes circumstance. But right now, this just looks like a dad who did what you're trained to do. He dialed 911.
Well, they're throwing the look. A lot of people are upset because they're throwing the book at this guy.
Yeah,
they're charging him with second-degree murder. That's life in prison.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're not even, at least as of this point, offering this guy a deal. Common sense. I understand the law, and definitely this needs to play out.
Yeah.
It needs to be in court.
Yeah.
And I understand the law, but common sense has to weigh in at some point. And if there's a dad out there that can honestly say, if you could get your hands on a man, a 67-year-old man, mind you, that is molesting your daughter over and over again to the point that he kidnaps her,
right,
and you wouldn't do the same thing, we're not the same.
No. We're
not the same. I'm sorry.
No, this is, okay, and people will get hateful about this. I don't care. This is what I expect of a father. And I know that that's a strong statement. I expect a father to bust through fences, to climb mountains, to tread water, to dig in, to save his babies. That's who you want to be your husband. That's who you want to be the father of your children, the one that knows no bounds, no limits to saving their babies.
No doubt about it.
This is a kid. This is a 13-year-old girl. And, this guy is 67 years old. That's a grandfather.
Yeah, it's
and you think that
disgusting.
You can come, and didn't it say soliciting, like they were on the computer or something, that they were, however they were.
Yeah, well, internet stalking of a child was one of the charges.
Yeah. So he's clearly a sex offender. He's clearly a perpetrator upon our children. And when we weigh the two next to each other, we've got a 67-year-old perpetrator of children versus, it says, a military man who fought for our country, who rammed a fucking truck and saved his daughter. They are not the same.
No.
Don't put them on the same playing field. Respectfully. All right. Well, you want to go back to Louisiana?
Sure.
Again?
Let's do it.
All right. And this is something, too. This situation is one that I personally kind of have a passion about because it has to do with protective orders. Okay? So a man suspected of killing his girlfriend early Sunday before turning the gun on himself had already been arrested twice for domestic violence, according to court records. He was also reportedly violating his order of protective custody during the days leading up to the incident. So around 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning, deputies with the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office were called to a residence near the intersection of Arlene Avenue and Watson Drive, and this is in Central, which is near EBR and Denham Springs, where we are.
Yeah.
They found Paul Varnado and his girlfriend, Alana Singleton, both 54 years old, dead from gunshot wounds. Authorities say preliminary evidence suggests the case is a murder-suicide. According to Varnado's arrest documents, EBR sheriff's deputies had been called to the same address in June and found Singleton with a swollen and bleeding left elbow, as well as multiple bruises to her rear, her torso, and her ankle. At the same time, Singleton told authorities Varnado thought that she had taken his keys, which Singleton claimed she had not. When Singleton tried to leave the trailer, she told investigators that Varnado, in a full fit of rage, had manhandled her before shoving her down the stairs. Varnado told authorities his girlfriend had gotten bruised from being under the trailer earlier in the day. Emergency medical services were also called to the scene, according to the records. Now, after the incident, An order of protective custody was filed against Varnado, prohibiting him from coming within 100 yards of Singleton. But on Sunday, neighbors told investigators they had spotted Varnado staying with Singleton for at least a few days before the deadly incident. And this is according to Casey Rayburn Hicks, who is the spokesperson for the EBR Sheriff's Office. Hicks added that it had been a neighbor that had called authorities to the scene Sunday after discovering one of them dead. Others later reported hearing shots fired the night before. Varnado was arrested in September of 2022 for throwing his then wife of 15 years to the ground, according to another arrest warrant. At the time, his wife told authorities that she had been cleaning the house when Varnado became enraged. When her son told Varnado to not disrespect his mother, Varnado reportedly became more angry and began aggressively approaching her son. When his wife tried to step in between the two, Varnado reportedly pushed her to the ground. In both cases, Varnado was convicted of domestic abuse battery. So let me just say this. A protective order is a piece of paper meant to be reactive. It's only there so that we can do something to him should he violate it. They don't do anything.
I agree. That was exactly what I was going to say. So KJ stole my thunder, y'all. I was going to say protective order is a piece
No,
of paper.
I was the lightning. Now you're the thunder.
No, I 100% agree with you. It is. It's just a piece of paper. Look, if you are in that situation, you certainly need to get that because if nothing else, it's a paper trail of the abuse.
Right.
But don't rely on that because a batterer is not going to stay away just because the police tell him to stay away, or her for that matter. I mean, there's guys that get abused domestically. It's certainly not as common, but it does happen. So him or her, this situation just got worse and worse as Kelly just covered. There was history over time where this escalated, and that is the result at some point for a lot of people. It ends up murder.
If they will hit you, they will kill you. If you look up any domestic violence website, any data, any research on domestic violence, if a person will strike you, they will kill you at some point.
Yeah.
If they're willing to, Jim, I can't imagine hitting you. Now, obviously, this wouldn't be domestic, but I'm just saying, I can't imagine hitting you. I don't care how pissed off. Jim told me my hair looked bad this morning.
I did not.
He did. He said, "What are you going to do with that hair?"
That's what I said. I didn't say it looked bad.
But no, I can't imagine hitting you. No matter how mad I've gotten at my spouse, I'm not going to hit him. So that's love. Love's patient. It's kind. It's all of those things. And so then people will come out and I'll say this. Maybe when I was younger, I'm like, well, why would she allow him back at the house? That's dumb. When I was younger. Now that I'm in my 40s and the more I've experienced and I understand and I've researched and I've been in the criminal justice system not as a perpetrator, but as someone who's been involved with victims. This is part of the abuse cycle.
Right.
The love bombing, I'm sorry, I'll never do that again, and blah, 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 blah. And then you let the person back in, and it's part of that cycle of domestic abuse.
100% it is. And look, there's a lot of people play that control factor. And I'll say, sadly, I'm a man, but I'll say, not sadly that I'm a man. I'm glad I'm a man. But sadly, men are known for doing this, okay? And they will have a wife, and that wife, maybe she's just got a part-time job or she's stay-at-home mom, and the husband works at a chemical plant or something like that, and he's making plenty of money, but he likes to go home and knock his wife around a little bit after having too much Fireball, whatever case may be. Right. Well, the problem is these ladies are in a situation where they have nowhere to go. They've got maybe 3 kids. They're a stay-at-home mom, or they work and it's a part-time gig, right? And they feel like, what am I going to do? I'm stuck in this situation, and it's horrible. One thing that I preach to my daughters constantly is never, ever rely on a man for a living. Ever. Make your own money. Even if you're married and your husband is a top-notch attorney at the biggest firm or a doctor or cardiologist, make sure that you make your own money, because there's a difference between being in a relationship when you have to and being in one when you want to.
Right.
And it's usually bullshit like this that occurs, and the females in that situation, I don't know this lady's situation. I feel so horrible for her family. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she did have a job there. She was making a ton of money. She might have been killing it.
Yeah.
But most situations like this, these people want to leave. They don't want to stay. And most times they're not even in love with these guys anymore. They just don't know what they're going to do. And I hate that for them. It hurts.
It's the cycle. I'm going to bet that this was lower income because they say the trailer. And I don't mean anything negative by that. I'm just saying I'm the totality of the circumstance here. But your primal instinct as a mother, right, is to protect your children at all costs. And I think I don't want to say admirable, that's not the word, but I understand it when a woman maybe is in a bad position, but she wants her children to be clothed and fed and housed.
Right.
And so it's not...
And they'll go through some shit to make sure that happens.
Shit for your kids. But let me tell you what my husband has preached. Just like you're a good daddy. I'm married to a fantastic husband. And when you said don't rely on him, and this isn't a man hater club either. This is meet a man who's your match, right?
Yeah,
and that y'all are equals.
right.
So in the event though that it doesn't go right, and in the event that something happens, you always have an out in our household, and it's daddy and mama. So that's something we want our girls to know too. You're never stuck. You are never ever ever stuck. We're going to make good choices and hopefully, lead by example. Right. And daddy will save you if anyone else won't.
100%. Yeah. But some people may not have that.
Oh, I know.
They may, their parents may have passed.
Right.
Every situation is different. So at the end of the day, rely on yourself would be my advice. Make sure that you are good. And let me tell you, as a man, I would much rather be married to a woman that I know that I'm aware does not have to have me to make a living. That she's actually with me because she kind of digs me.
Yeah.
She's not with me because I got a bunch of money.
I want you, I don't need you.
Because she got her own money.
Yeah.
That I dig.
Yeah.
So anyway, horrible situation.
I want to say
many prayers, and there are options. Look, ladies, they do have battered women's shelters and things like that you can go to, and a lot of these are held in secret.
Yep.
There's ways to get the information, but a lot of them do not promote, because they don't want men showing up. Where's my wife? Right. So look into that if you're in that situation. Please get out of it because this is the end result.
Our local sheriff's office, just for example, and if you're wondering, okay, our local sheriff's office has a wonderful set of women and men, obviously, but women that are part of their program to help the battered women. All you have to do, guys, is pick up the phone.
That's right.
Dial your local law enforcement. They will guide you. They will help you. They will help your children. And there's people like me and Jim and other people in the community that all you have to do is list your needs. You would be shocked how much this community can come together and help people. So you're not stuck. Chin up, make the phone call, and save yourself. You can do it.
There you go.
You're not alone.
Let's go to Tennessee. And a manhunt for a suspect in the Tennessee killing of 4 people and the kidnapping of a baby ended Tuesday when he was taken into custody. Austin Robert Drummond, 28, was taken into custody in Jackson, Tennessee by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. This came after a week-long manhunt. Now, during a news conference Tuesday afternoon, law enforcement officials said Drummond was captured after multiple community residents spotted him and called 911. Quote, "This is the perfect example of police and community cooperation." Drummond, who had been considered armed and dangerous, is the prime suspect in the July 29th killing of 38-year-old Courtney Rose. Rose's children, 20-year-old Adriana Williams and 15-year-old Braden Williams, and Adriana Williams' boyfriend, 21-year-old James Michael Wilson. The victims were found along a road in Lake County, which is in northwest Tennessee, the same day. Wilson and Williams' baby was left in the car seat in a random individual's front yard in nearby Dyer County, Tennessee. Authorities said Drummond knew the victims through his girlfriend, who was the daughter of Rose and the sister of Adriana and Braden. A motive for the killing remains under investigation. During a news conference Tuesday, law enforcement officials said that Drummond was captured after multiple community residents spotted him in Jackson around 8 a.m. and called 911. Shout out to those people for paying attention. Quote, "This is a perfect example of police and community cooperation." Jackson Police Chief Tom Corley said residents spotted Drummond around 8 a.m. Tuesday near a vacant building investigators believe the suspect had been hiding in. He said officers rushed to the area as more 911 calls came in, including one at 8:57 a.m. that helped officers pinpoint Drummond's location in the woods near a vacant building. They took him into custody at 9:05 a.m., and Drummond is facing 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of aggravated kidnapping, a slew of other charges. And during the search for Drummond, police also arrested 4 people accused of being accessories after the fact to the homicide.
Well, there's widespread suffering here. And I think you can tell a whole lot of people are going to be affected by this, even schools, because of the age of the young one and the loss of their friend, And so prayers, thoughts, and if you know something, say something. If you think that someone is capable of this, obviously you speak up, and get away. Don't.
Yeah, and great job. Shout out to the community for
excellent,
who essentially caught this guy.
Yeah, excellent. All right, now here's another one that's this one's kind of wild. All right, we're gonna go to Maryland. So a Maryland mother whose 2 kids vanished more than a decade ago has now been indicted on murder charges for a second time. Catherine Hoggle, 38 of Clarksburg, was indicted by a grand jury on 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the presumed deaths of Sarah and Jacob Hoggle. Authorities have said Hoggle was the last known person to see 3-year-old Sarah and 2-year-old Jacob alive when they disappeared in September of 2014. They have never been found. At that time, Hoggle explained to her boyfriend, and he was also the father of her children, that she had placed their daughter and son in a new child care center. But Hoggle refused to divulge their whereabouts when Troy Turner planned to pick up the children. He has since spearheaded countless searches and even launched a Facebook page, which was Find Sarah, Find Jacob. Hoggle, who has struggled with mental illness, was initially charged with murder, but those charges were dropped after a court found her to be not competent to stand trial. She has spent the past several years in a psychiatric facility, but she was released from the hospital last month. She has not commented on the children's whereabouts to authorities. So the Montgomery County State Attorney's Office said Hoggle was arrested Friday, August 1st, after investigators learned that she had been discharged from the facility, and she is scheduled to have a bond review hearing on Monday. And that is giving me total vibes of, who was it that drowned all of her children? Andrea Yates?
Yeah.
That is giving me total Andrea Yates vibes.
Yeah, except for at least they found Andrea Yates' families. Yeah. And I'll say this, I don't understand this at all. I mean, if you're deemed too mentally unstable to stand trial, then how the fuck are you stable enough to get out of mental hospitals, and just be free? How is that possible? I don't understand that. She's been now charged. Thankfully, she's going to be charged with murder of these kids, and it'll come out as to whether they did that. But obviously, this is the suspicion. They wanted to try her for it already, and she was too crazy, according to authorities, to even be tried. So she goes to a mental hospital, and now she's getting released and walking amongst society. Nobody even knows where these poor babies are. Yeah, 3 and 2 years old.
Yeah, 3 and 2 can't.
I mean, obviously they're not alive anymore.
Right, 3 and 2 can't just disappear. I mean, they're at risk ages. The only thing I could think, because I was trying to process this, is maybe they charged her, but because of how bad they didn't have a body or two, they didn't have bodies, they didn't have much. Maybe they dropped it to build a stronger case, and that's why once she was released, then they went and rearrested her.
But that's not what it says. It says those charges were dropped after a court found her to not be competent to stand trial.
Yeah, but then she was
put
in a
went into the psychiatric hospital. Now she's out.
But but then they went and rearrested her. So
yes, but my point is she wasn't competent the first time, so they put her in a hospital. How do you get out? I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm with you.
I just don't understand it.
I'm with you 100%. I think this is one of those breakdowns in the system.
Yeah.
That this kind of stuff happens because obviously the children are nowhere to be found. There's no reason that your suspect number one, who's already been thought so strongly of being responsible for this, has already been charged. But then dropping the charges because you're incompetent to stand trial. I mean, obviously, I'm no attorney, but you could still be committed.
Right. And she was for a few years.
Yeah. So shouldn't there be a reevaluation?
Seems like that's my point. Yeah. 11 years. This is 11 years ago this occurred. And
that poor
nobody,
dad.
yeah, it's just
God
terrible.
bless that poor dad. And then to not know where your babies are resting. Ugh.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know how you can find her competent the second time and not the first time.
And let me tell you this, too. I worked in prison. We all know that. And they have units where the criminally insane are housed in these prisons, okay? And that was one of the biggest things, and I think people would agree if you ever experienced it. When you go to prison, prison is not a place for crazy, okay? Prison is a place for evil, if I have to just kind of break it down, okay? You do wrong, you do... I guess evil's strong, but some people are evil, but some people just, they do horrible things too.
Yeah, evil acts.
But when you are crazy, punitiveness doesn't work. You can't fix that with punitiveness. Locking someone up for 10 years won't fix the fact that you were completely fucked in the head.
Yeah.
So what happens though is our system is not designed to differentiate between the two. You do a criminal act, like your children go missing, which obviously we would agree she did something to these children, and then we ship them off to prison, and then prison is not a facility that's going to make that any better or fix it. So the psychiatric hospital would have been the best place for her to be.
Sure.
For a multitude of reasons.
Right. Now I get it. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Arizona, and we're going to talk about Kelly's favorite app, which is TikTok.
Ooh, I love me some talk. My mama says the Chinese are going to get all your information. I'm like,
Look,
well, they got it.
She follows absolutely no TikTok rules, y'all. None. And she says, I wonder how come only 200 people have watched this clip or something? And I'm like, well, you cussed in it 9 times.
I'm not saying schmurder. That is the dumbest
well, then you
shit
don't
I've
love
ever...
TikTok.
Tip-Top?
Whatever it's called.
No, that's the app I'm going to start. Tip-Top.
TikTok, where you can cuss
say
all
whatever
you
the
want.
hell you want. Hey everyone, Crime Wire Weekly has moved to its own new channel.
We hope you've enjoyed this preview. To continue listening, please follow the link referenced in the description of this podcast.
Or simply search Crime Wire Weekly wherever you're listening.
And don't forget to follow the show so you can be alerted when new episodes drop.
Thanks for listening.